You sussy Kafka mains wanting to give yourself more validation to summon for the character you already know you want to summon for? And I'm in the same boat, boys. I can't wait for Kafka. So let's dive right into Kafka's thick thighs now. I mean, all the reasons you should be summoning for Kafka. But first, I do want to give my general thoughts on her banner before I suck her toes. Alright, gamers, so as far as my general thoughts on her banner really quick, I do think Kafka's banner is really good for her. Like, if you're planning on summoning for her, which is probably why you're watching the video, it is really good for her. It is absolutely amazing for her. It gives her a lot of stuff to work with as far as her team goes. Basically almost a full team just for her alone, barring there is no really like support slash healer slash defensive character on the team. You would need to come up with that on your own, which you probably have a Natasha already, which you could use. But yeah, that's besides the point. Anyways, I think her banner is really good overall. Her banner is also giving a pretty unique damage playstyle as well, which is DOT damage. Is just really unique to her. It's gonna be really cool to see it in action when she actually comes out to the game, and I can't wait to do more testing and stuff like that. And if you want to see that testing, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel here, and also follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/you2can'tsee me. We do testing and copium stuff every single day there. So if you guys want to see that, follow the Twitch, subscribe to the channel for more content on Kafka. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about some of the reasons on why you should be summoning for Kafka, boys. First of all, let's talk about her banner again. Her banner is really good. On the banner is going to be Sampo, Luca, and Serval. What do all three of these characters have in common? Please tell me you know already. It's dot damage, guys. It's dot damage. They all do dot damage. Sampo being the ringleader here. Daddy Sampo in action. I can't wait to main my Daddy Sampo. Put one in the comments below if you fuck with Daddy Sampo. As far as what Sampo is going to do, guys, is his ultimate is going to be increasing the amount of dot damage that the enemy will receive, which is just really good. It'll help Kafka out, meaning she'll be doing more damage from her skill, which we'll talk about her kit in a second here. Luca also does dot damage. That boy goes bucko insano stupido mode. He attacks so much and inflicts so much bleed on the enemy. It is just kind of insane. He's also a physical character as well, meaning you're just adding more little damage types to the team, and it is just really cool. Serval is good. Serval does shock damage. I guess one upside that you use with Serval is, of course, she does DOT damage. She also gets extra damage from enemies that are already shocked. Kafka shocks the enemy, so they play well together. There is a downside and an upside to this, though. The downside to this is that there is two electro types on the same team. It can hinder your team, unless you have Silverwolf. If you have Silverwolf and Bailu, this could be really good for you, actually, because you could use Silverwolf, Bailu, and Serval with Kafka, and you could have a mono lightning team, which could actually be pretty insane if you think about it. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Kafka herself. What does she do? Why does she enhance DOT if you don't know already? So why Kafka enhances DOT is her skill. Her skill, whenever she uses it, it works like Serval's skill. She'll be targeting one main enemy and doing a bigger portion of damage to that enemy, and also be dealing damage to two adjacent enemies, which means the enemy on the left and the enemy on the right will also be taking a reduced amount of damage. But the big thing she does is she immediately makes the enemy take a portion of the DOT that they have on them. So say the enemy has wind shear, bleed, and also shock on them. They'll be taking a portion of all those damages immediately, and she also has a chance to apply shock with using this. It also does the same thing when using the ult too. She's a big burst of damage to all enemies. She also applies the DOT upon them immediately when using her ult, and then on top of this, she'll be applying a shock debuff to them. Her talent is also really cool because it works with Sampo really well, actually. It makes a team really SP efficient, honestly. So her talent activates whenever an ally does a basic attack. And when the ally does the basic attack, she does a follow-up attack and inflicts that enemy with shock. The same shock that she gives from her ultimate, which is honestly a really big multiplier as far as DOT is concerned. You can actually pair this up really well with Sampo and Luca, because most of the time they're going to be using their basic attacks anyways. Sampo can just load up and keep that stack of DOT on the enemy for an insane amount of time just from using his basic attack alone. This is going to look really good for Kafka overall, and yeah, just really insane, really stupid, and I can't wait to use it. But what's this dot damage you're talking about? Well, that's damage over time, and it's a really unique damage type, because on its own, without Kafka, I'm not gonna lie, kinda bad, kinda shit. But with Kafka, I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. Now, you guys can comment here below when she comes out if she's absolutely ass, if the memes are real, if Midka is real, then please let me know and flame me in the comments, and I can't wait to see those. But overall, I do think she's going to be really good. I really don't think she's going to be Midka. I don't think they would do that for one of their most anticipated characters coming to the game, which everyone was busting nuts over. And let's just be honest, probably 90% of the community put Kafka in a jar. And surely I'm that 10% that didn't. But yeah, DOT is just really unique, guys. I think it's going to add a new vertical to how you can play the game, because you won't be having to build into these teams where it's just crit damage, crit rate, just keep stacking it, damage. I think this does add a different vertical to it, because I do think this will allow you to actually run separate teams and separate supports with Kafka, so it'll actually free up some of those supports to run hyper carry comp on one side and run a full DOT comp on the other side of MOC, if that's what you actually intend on doing. I think this is a really viable option, something so diverse from like what the meta is now, the full crit damage meta. I think this could open up a new form of damage. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that this does come at a low investment cost. Someone recently commented on one of my videos. If I remember to put it in, I'll put it in here. But yeah, he's right on this. It does require a lot of investment. You do need DOT characters to make her thrive and make her good. So you are going to need to invest in at least one other DOT character, whether that be Sampo, Serval, or Luca, depending on what the use case might be. So, I mean, it is a pretty high investment. Investment for her character herself is really not that high. All you're aiming for is speed and attack, really. That's really it. Speed, attack, and some effect hit rate. You really don't need that much if you have E0. E1 gets a little bit harder to run, but I did talk about that in my previous video on everything that you need for Kafka, so if you want to check that out, go check that video out. Link for that video will be in the description below. But like I said, I do think that dot damage can be really interesting to run, and I think it is going to be really interesting to run, and I think it'll help a lot of players beat MOC, actually. And one more thing I want to touch on as far as team building goes. The reason I say you don't need to build any crit rate or crit damage into her kit or into anyone that runs DOT's kit is because none of their DOT scales off of crit rate or crit damage. Just a quick side note though, you can build more crit rate and crit damage into Kafka. Not saying to put that as like a main stat on a piece, but if you do get a crit rate or a crit damage stat, it won't be that bad to build into her. Just because you're not having to build as much of an effect hit rate into her, this means you're able to free up a little bit more stats where you can build more crit rate or crit damage that'll help her skill damage and her ultimate damage out. Whereas that's just not the case with other DOT characters where you need, you know, 60% effect hit rate on them. But yeah, that's really all the positive things I have to say about Kafka. If you have any negative things to say or she ends up being cope, remember, leave them in the comments below. But I did make a video a couple days ago on reasons why you shouldn't summon for Kafka. If you haven't seen that already, please go check that out. I would really appreciate that. Anyways, guys, like I said, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe to the channel because we will be doing a lot more content with Kafka and teams and builds and everything like that with Kafka. And I just can't wait because I love Daddy Sampo and I want to make teams around Daddy Sampo and also Kafka because I just like DOT in games. I think it's a really interesting damage type. And I do think Midka is not real. So, yeah, I think Kafka is going to be bussin', one of the best characters in the game. And I think she's going to be triple S tier plus. And yes, I did get this Guoba certified. Not really, but that's a meme. And that's going to do it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed my cringe little video today on nutting over Kafka and talking about everything good with her. So yeah, that's going to do it. Later. Bye-bye.